Good day everyone. So in my last video I explained the issues I had with the ISDT BC-8S battery checker. Now I thought I'd do a similar video testing this unit, which is the ISDT BG-8S. So this is actually a balancer, but it also has the same functions the other unit has to enable an alarm when the voltage goes below your set voltage. So I'll just go quickly through the menu to show you the options here. So the bottom option here is a cell balance. So if I start that, you see the color changes to green, and it highlights in orange all the cells that are higher than the lowest cell. So right now the lowest cell is 3.774. Now you just saw that one stopped discharging because it's close enough. I mean, there's always going to be a slight variance, but as you can see here, all the cells that are being discharged are highlighted in orange. This unit has a USB charger that you can, I'll just turn off the cell balancer. On the side here, there's a USB port which you could use to charge a cell phone or other device by plugging it into your pack. Here you can set the low voltage alarm, so it's got quite a wide range of voltages. I'll just put it at 3.1 just to test. You can select the battery type, the alarm tone, so you can turn that off if you want. So normally if the voltage of one of the cells goes below your set voltage, you can either have a single tone or repeat. I set it at repeat because you want to keep sounding the alarm until you disconnect the battery, obviously. There's some other features here I won't go through. The volume is just the volume of the clicking sound. You can turn that off if you want. Now there's no sound, and the backlight and the language. So we're just going to go back here. As you can see, the total back voltage, the millivolt variance between the highest and lowest, it's telling you it's a lithium-ion 8S and it's 56% charged. So like in my previous video, it is connected to this pack. These are weak cells, but they serve the purpose for here. I have the pack connected to this DC to DC converter, so it's on the input side. So this is high, 30 volts, and it's connected to this pack here just to serve as a load. So I'm going to apply a load using this unit and see what happens to the voltages and the bars, as you can see here. So let's go ahead. So I'm applying load to the batteries. You can see they're all going down. You can see the variance is increasing as I'm applying a load. So as you can see, it rang and it highlighted in red the cells that were below. Now you hear the tone. It only rings every approximately 1 minute, which I don't like. I prefer that the tone would continue. So right now we have 2 cells that are below 3 volts, actually 3 now, yet there's no alarm. The alarm will ring again in approximately a minute. Also, you noticed a couple times the screen does turn off, so I'm assuming that's to, like the other unit, it probably applies a load only to the 2 first cells, and having the screen on drains those 2 cells, but having it turned off like that decreases the load on those 2 cells. So the alarm still is not ringing, yet many cells are below 3 volts. So I don't really like that. The alarm will warn you if the cells are low, but first of all, it's not very loud. See, there it goes again. So now I turned off the load so that the batteries recover. So I'll go back in the menu. So even though the tone is repeat, it only repeats about every 1 minute. So again, I don't really like that. One, it should ring continuously, and second, it should be much louder than that. So it serves a purpose. Again, this is more of a balancer than a battery checker, but at least it does what it's supposed to do. So now what I'm going to do is, you can see the voltages are recovering, so there's no more load on this pack. I'm actually going to leave this connected. Even though the screen does turn off, there's still electronics being powered. So I'm just curious to see if it's going to do the same thing as the other ISDT battery checker, where it's going to discharge the first 2 cells. Now obviously the screen goes off, so I won't be able to do a time lapse of this, but I'll come back in maybe 5 hours or so to see if the cells have been discharged. I'm just going to just put this down. I'm actually going to unplug this completely so that I don't have a load on the pack, and leave this for a little while and check it in a couple of hours. Okay, so it's been a little bit over 4 hours, and from what I can see here, the voltage are still pretty much in line with what they were before, so not any significant discharge at this time. So I'm going to continue with this test for a little longer and see if there's any change. Alright, so it's now been a little bit over 13 hours, and the pack voltages has dropped slightly, but not nearly as bad as what happened with the other ISDT battery checker. So the total voltage has gone down a bit, the imbalance has increased. So it seems to have discharged the first 3 cells slightly more than the others, but it's not too obvious. Actually, I would even say that the first 5 cells have gone down more than the last 3, perhaps. But the amount of power draw seems to be very little compared to the other charger. Now that's obviously because after a few seconds the screen turns off and all you have is a little LED that blinks. Obviously also this is a very weak pack. The cells are not very good, so there's possibly some self-discharge happening also. So I think that's, to me, that is very good, that's acceptable. So my next test will be to apply a load to each cell and see if the alarm goes off. I'm going to go into the menu here. I'm going to change oops, I turned on the balance. I'm going to change the low voltage alarm. I'm going to bring that up so I don't have to discharge quite as far before the alarm rings. Let's go to 3.5. So all the cells are over 3.5, so that's good. Now let's start by applying a load to the second cell by using a 12 volt bulb. So you saw the voltage went down below 3.5 and rang the alarm. Let's do that again. So as you can see, the alarm sounds, but then it stops. So even though it's on repeat, so you can see here the light is blinking now, red. That indicates that there's a warning. If I disconnect this, the red light should go back to being blue, as you can see. So you can't see the screen, but you can see by the LED the status of the battery. So also you can see that there's no split bar graph compared to the other ISDT, which I would much rather the way the other one works, but at least this is working well. The alarms sound. You see the imbalance has increased. But again, the alarm sounds once, and then it almost takes a minute before it sounds again, which I don't like. Let's do this again. So the alarm's ringing. Screen turns off again with the blinking red light. Now let's try the first cell. So this was the major issue I had with the other battery checker. When the first battery went below the set voltage, it did not ring the alarm. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is working. Let's try that again. Okay, so that works. Let's try the third group. Also working. Fourth. So you see the red light's already blinking, but the alarm hasn't sound. So obviously I really don't like the way the alarm rings on this. It doesn't, first of all, it's not very loud, which I could live with, but the fact that it sounds only once, that's it. And maybe in another minute it'll sound again. So I guess if you're in a quiet room, you don't want to be disturbed too much, that's fine. But the whole point of an alarm is that you have to disconnect the load, otherwise you're going to damage the battery. So in this case, it's not a big deal. I set the alarm much higher than it needs to be. But yeah, it takes way too much time before alarm sounds more than once. So this aspect of the battery checker seems to work fine. Let's just try another one. Cell number 5. And again, the light, I have a red light flashing, but no alarm this time. It's kind of odd. Let's try this again. So it seems the alarm just only rings when the screens turn on. So let's let the screen turn off again, and then we're gonna do the test again. Okay, for some reason this time it took a long time for the screen to turn off, but which I find kind of odd. But let's now try to apply load to one of the cells and see if we sound the alarm. Okay, so that worked. That's a good confirmation. I'm going to go into the menu here and change the low battery alarm to 3 volts to simulate what I was doing with the other one. Okay, so that works. So this one seems to have confirmed and it works properly. When any of the cell goes below the set minimum voltage, it does sound the alarm. So all in all, this one seems to work much better than the other battery checker, or at least it works as designed. It doesn't draw too much power from the cells when it's on standby, and it does ring the alarm when it's supposed to. However, I still have issues with it, being that I don't like the way the alarm sounds. It doesn't sound loud enough and frequently enough. So it's still safer to use. Now, this just do what it's actually designed for. We'll run the battery checker, the balancer, and see how long it takes to balance this pack. So obviously the first battery, which I just did a long test on, a long discharge, is much lower than the other ones. So all of these now are being discharged to match the first cell. So we have 149 millivolts imbalance. This one I'm assuming will probably recover some voltage because, like I said, it just came off being discharged. So let's give it a go. You can see now also the LED is now blinking a green light. So it seems to be 3 different colors. When it's like a bluish white light, it's just on standby. When it's red, it's got an alarm sounding. When it's green, it's balancing. And actually, we'll see after, when the imbalance is complete, it will turn into a blue flashing light. So as you can see, the blue light is flashing. That indicates that the balancing is completed. And let's see how much time it took. So it's telling me 2 hours and 21 minutes to balance the pack, and we only have 2 millivolt unbalanced. So that's very good. Now note that this pack, as again I said, is very weak. It's probably around 1300 milliamps, which is weak. Now if you have a higher capacity pack, obviously it would take a lot longer. So a lot of people have complained that the balance function is very slow, and I have noticed that too on other packs. but it does work, and luckily it doesn't discharge, it doesn't apply a load to the pack to discharge it. So all in all, I like this unit. As a balancer, it works very well. It does 8 channels, or an 8S pack, up to an 8S pack. I just find it strange that there's no way in the menu to change the amount of time it takes before the screen defaults turns off. Obviously right now it still thinks it's balancing, so I can stop that. And now I can see changes to gray. So this works very well. As an alarm, it's not very good. Alarm, first of all, is not loud enough, and second of all, I don't like that it doesn't ring continuously. So all in all, it's a recommend. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll get you guys later.